Hello, welcome everyone to the Beacon of Light podcast. Tonight, we have two amazing authors that have written one book. This book is going to blow your mind, and it is about poetry. So we hope you invite anyone out there who might be a wordsmith, who enjoys poetry, because what we're going to learn tonight is all about healing, and in a way that I think it's going to be awesome for everyone. So before we start talking to them, we're going to jump into this. I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now. And we're back. Welcome again, everyone. Since we have two guests, we kind of have a smaller configuration so that I can sign for y'all out there. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi.
And welcome,
Hi,
Linda.
Hi.
So, yes, welcome, you guys. This is an exciting time. And I wanted to start off with getting to know a little bit more about Linda O'Dell. So, share a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm Linda O'Dell, and I am married. I'm a cancer survivor, so I don't have any kids, but I have a 5-year-old Chihuahua that might bark in the background. I've done prison ministry for 26 years, and I've written 11 books, and I'm excited about the one that me and Elizabeth has worked together on.
Wow, prison ministry for 26 years.
Yeah.
I bet there's a lot of stories there. Elizabeth, share a little bit about yourself.
I am an RN. I've been an RN since 2000. I can't believe May will be 24 years. And I started writing again in 2015. I wrote a personal memoir and then an allegory. And this is my first collaboration and with Linda. And then I am also working on my fourth book as well. And I can talk a little bit about that later. So thank you for having us.
You bet. We're really excited to have these authors shine and to share their light and their hope with us tonight. So, Linda, we're going to jump right in. Let's put the title here of the book up, of Pain, Purpose, and Healing Through the Eyes of Poetry. Okay, poetry. What are you guys thinking out there when it comes to that? Maybe some Michelle Silverstein when you were a small kid. Maybe some Emily Dickens. We could just name off a whole list of those that have printed up all of their poetry, and maybe a few of you out there are writers of it. Well, I'd like to ask Linda how a book like this can help somebody, and I'm going to link it to your prison ministry. So take it away, Linda.
Okay. Writing in general helps incarcerated women or women in general. And so when you can write poetry and get your feelings down on paper, the incarcerated women, sometimes they don't have a way to express their feelings, because in the setting that they're in, no one wants to know their opinion about things or whatever. And so if they can write down how they're feeling, then they can see what their perspectives are in their situation and how they're looking at life and how they cope with what they're going through. And then looking back at what they've written, then it helps them to see how far they've come in their progress dealing with incarceration, but also working on, getting their life better and straightened out. And we have a lot of programs at the facility where the women sit down and write. And they love writing because, in the situation that they're in, not very many people, care about their opinion or whatever. So if they're writing, they can express themselves any way they want to. And they can be angry, they can be happy, they can whatever. And so they can write whatever they want to. And share it with people. And one of the programs out there at the facility that is really good is called Poetic Justice. Now, I'm not involved with that group, but I'm involved with the women that are in that group. And they've even had some national exhibits of some of the poetry that these ladies have written, which also helps, their self-esteem, because it goes out, the exhibit goes outside of the prison and shows, the world that they're just women. They're not incarcerated women. They're women, and they have their mothers, their daughters, their friends. And so it gives them hope, gives them healing. It gives them hope. It's therapy. It really is therapy. And Elizabeth, being a nurse, she knows what therapy is, so writing, especially in an incarcerated situation, is healing, and it gives you purpose and gives you your perspective, so that you can see when you write something and you look back at it, you can see, oh, I am improving. Maybe I'm in this situation, but I'm not where I was when I first came. I'm learning, I'm improving, I'm growing, maturing, and so it really does help them. And it helps us on the outside too, so.
Well, I was going to say, I love how it takes away that incarcerated label, if you will, because that is so important, because that has such a negative stereotype to it. It almost makes them feel like they're subhuman. And I just love that the writing takes away that negative label. And speaking of healing, some of the poetry that I wrote, one of them I'm going to read tonight. And I will try very hard not to cry, but this one particularly was healing to me. It helped me process feelings. And I actually had a friend comment on one of our Instagram posts that me and Linda put up. And we were kind of discussing the difference between expression that Linda talked about earlier, and then healing. And I even think with expression, no matter what that expression is, just like she said, there's no judgment. There's no preconceived ideas. My friend said there was no judgment. There was no preconceived ideas. So, but there's also healing with that when you can put those words on paper with no judgment, no preconceived ideas, and it gets it out of your heart.
Right.
Where it's obvious, where for me, it was really painful. And so I think anytime you can get something out of your heart or out of your system, you've probably heard that term too, it's very, very helpful to you.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah. There is such a great idea of we know that writing is that therapeutic construct because it swims within your mind, and then your mind can really be a challenging place to live in because it's not the best place to process just within your mind. There are steps of the thought there, and putting it out or even speaking it and hearing it again brings more clarity. And so as part of that, in the reflection, then the growth can really be identified. So that is fantastic. So do you guys have something that you want to share from the book tonight? Something that you want to read?
Yes.
Elizabeth, go ahead and read yours since you were talking about it.
Okay. All right. Let me hold the book up here. I know it's probably going to be upside down or backwards. Let me see. Where's the camera? There it is. Now, there you can see it. And it's got pretty sunflowers on it. Okay. Trying to keep it in. Okay. Let me get back to where that was. I lost my place now. Okay. First of all, this poem was written for, if you will, or about my late husband, Jeff. I loved the man very much. I really did. There's your doggy. Your doggy.
Sorry.
That's okay. He was just a very broken man. And, but I wrote this because I believe his life counted for something. And I loved him more than I realized I loved him at the time. And there's this part of me that's always going to love him. So I just want to read this. It's about him. It's going to be on page 54 of the poetry book. You can read the rest of the intro to that about him when you get the book. So I won't belabor that because I want Linda to have time to read hers. This is called A Broken Man. A little boy with hopes and dreams. He wants so much to be loved. A father who cannot love him. A mother who cannot protect him. A young man with hopes and dreams. He wants so much to be loved. Peers tease and bully him brutally. He hides among his collections. He longs for a safe place. Home is not safe. School is not safe. Only the firehouse is safe. At the firehouse, he is accepted. At the firehouse, he is loved. At the firehouse, he finds hope. At the firehouse, he finds the will to keep living. A grown man with a life ahead of him. A broken man. A man who does not know how to love. A man who tries to love. A man who keeps going despite the cruel thoughts that taunt him. A man who finds Jesus and the will to keep living. A man who tries to find love. A man who does not love himself. A man who abuses love. A broken man. A broken man sits in silent, crushing darkness. His last words haunt.
It's okay. It's okay.
Hold on just a second. Okay. His last words haunt me still. For you to have peace, I have to go. I have no words. A broken man was indeed loved. A broken man is now at peace. A broken man hurts no more. A broken man is healed. Thank you.
See, and that is what we're giving you, an expression of, we can feel what she feels when she's reading that. You know, that's where the emotion of poetry is. It just grabs you. You can feel it. You know, you can feel her anguish, her hurt, her healing in the process. You can feel all of that. And that's what poetry does. Thank you, Elizabeth. That's good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys for bearing with me. That's still a difficult one. So
It is. There is such connection, though. I would imagine even some more release, possibly, and a release maybe in a way that draws maybe a closer connection to what the real love was.
yes.
And it, I think, also allows for a lot of forgiveness.
Oh gosh, yes.
within her.
I have
And
done.
that's huge.
I have done so much forgiving, and that poem was part of that. So
Mhm.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, Linda, do you have something to read for us tonight as well?
Yes, I have a couple of things. They're not as emotional as Elizabeth's. The
well,
first
that's
one I'm
okay.
going to read.
We took care of the heavy stuff first.
Right. The first one is something I wrote. It's called Gift, and it's I can't remember. I think I wrote it a couple of years ago. Every day is a gift. Live in the present. Stop tripping over what's behind you. The past is over. Live each moment. Cherish every second. Time is too short for regrets. Let go of the past. Make moments that last. Enjoy life. Only you can live it. Be thankful for the benefits. Love those who are in it.
I love that last line. I do.
Thank you.
Love those who are
And then
in
I've
it.
got one more that is actually from one of our women in the Oklahoma justice system. She's one of the women at the facility that I serve at. And this is one of her poems. Her name is Jolena, and her poem is called My Heart Cries.
Now, I don't mean to interrupt you, but is this one that is in the book as well?
Yes, it's in the book on page 33. We included a couple of different people in the book. So My Heart Cries from Jolena. My heart cries for freedom. Freedom I thought could never happen. My heart cries for my daughter. I want to see her. I know this is impossible now. My heart cries to have my parents here, to see me walk out of this place. I know this is impossible too. They have passed away. My heart cries to feel joy and peace in life again. My heart cries to learn how to have fun again. My heart cries to hear nature sing again and feel the peace it brings. My heart cries to be free again forever. Jolena. And it's in our book.
Amazing.
Yes, we've got a section. It's called Miscellaneous Poems, and it starts on page 31.
Mm-hmm.
So, how many total poems are within the book?
Linda how many did you submitted what, Linda? Around 20?
20, I was thinking.
And I believe I submitted also around 20. And then we have 3 or 4 from miscellaneous. So you're looking at about 45 poems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And that gives an idea of, since you've experienced this, everyone here in the Beacon of Light podcast audience tonight, you've experienced a touch of how that emotion can, really be expressed. And there might be a way that in your writing, maybe poetry feels a little bit easier to start with because it's just a few words, maybe as we think about that versus, writing a full chapter or a book. And whichever way you want to look at it, the connective piece of why poetry is really magical is within the smaller amount of words, a real focus can be directed. And for this particular project, talking about pain and purpose and healing through the eyes of poetry, which is the title of the book, there's something that really lends itself to go beyond the everyday. To write poetry, you do need to stop and be calm, in the sense of calming your, just busyness is what I mean by the calming. And I think in the lack of time that we might have for those precious moments of peace, it's really important to grab hold, and maybe through a book like this, somebody leads you into that place and maybe inspire you to write as well. So, Linda, you say you have 11 books. Amazing. So, share, are they all about poetry?
Including the one that Elizabeth and I did, I have 5 poetry books. And then I have one that is my cancer story, because I had cancer when I was 23. So I have a book about that. I have a couple of books that are called Captive Thoughts, and they're just like one statement for each day that you could read and inspire you, make you think, or you could read the whole thing, at one setting. Let me show you one book, since we're talking about prison ministry. I don't know if it comes out the right way. This is called Letters of Life. And this actually came about probably 10 years ago at the prison. But we had some of the ladies write their younger self, and you have that in school. A lot of people write their younger self. They thought it was crazy. They thought it was, it's corny. But when you look at and this is their words, I just put them all, I had saved all the papers and I put them all in a book. So this is just exactly how they wrote it. And so some of them wrote long, like, let me show you, see, like some of them kind of wrote, if you could see it, some of them kind of wrote long. And then a couple, some of them, like, let me see if I could find it real quick, just wrote a sentence or two, like a sentence or a sentence or two. But the ones at the time in the class, when they wrote a sentence or two, they were trying to hurry to get through the assignment, The ones that wrote longer were trying to actually think about it. But at the end, after the class was over and they've had time to think about it, and then in a couple of weeks later, when they had time to think and process, every one of them, even the ones that just wrote a sentence or two, said it changed their life. Because what we're talking about with words, whether it's poetry or words, they thought about their younger selves, where they were at the time when they wrote what they wrote in the book. And the common theme of what they said in their writing was to listen to your mother. Like some of them say, if I would have listened to my mother when I was 16, I wouldn't have got on drugs, or I wouldn't have went with that boy who got on drugs and went further and further off the path, And we could all, learn to listen to our mothers, But they all thought it was crazy. But when they had time to process, and that's what we're trying to talk about with poetry, when you process the things that you've written and look back on it, then you can see in poetry or just in words in general, in journaling or whatever you write, you can see your process you've made, your maturity, and your improvements. Like Elizabeth tells her story and her healing process as she's gone through. She can look back, at some of the things that she went through, and she can see that now she's healed from those things, and she's maybe still working on some things, but it's a process, and we all go through those processes. And poetry, like you were saying, April, poetry is just the shorter version to help you get started to writing your feelings and your thoughts. And the more you process, the more the words come. And then you might write a book, or you might just journal, or just write notes to yourself, and I mean, it is, and the way we're even right now, we're talking, words is how humans communicate, We can't use our words, and of course we can use them for good or bad, but when we use them and write something in our quiet, like you were saying, in our quiet situation, or just our peaceful moments, and we write something, we can see what we're experiencing or how we're feeling, because sometimes you can be in a stressful situation or you can be in a happy one, but you might not understand exactly what you're feeling. But after you write it down and then you look at it later, you think, that's right, I was happy then, or I was sad then, or I processed that. I'm no longer that person. Now I've moved on. So it really is therapy. It's healing. It could be painful, but there's purpose in it, and healing and therapy. And I recommend, if you haven't journaled, if you haven't wrote poetry, or just write something, take some notes, and see where you are in life. I mean, it's amazing, because then when other people read it or hear, if they read your books or your journals or your blog posts or whatever, you never know when that person is going through some of the things that you are talking about, and it heals. I mean, it just heals, and we all know that, relationship and words with people is where our hearts are, and that's what, transforms our lives.
It does.
Yes,
It
I'm
changes so many
sorry.
things. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Sorry. I was looking at the chat and interacting with the chat. So Linda Abster11 had asked why we wrote this book, and I told her it's been in the works since 2020. And so it was just time to publish it. And thank you, Abster. We're glad we're sharing it too.
Now,
And
Elizabeth, tell them why you had to delay.
oh, yes. COVID-19 hit, and I'm a public health nurse. So that had to wait until things settled down. And then we have a Facebook user that said, "Love the books written by you, Linda."
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
So thank you guys for listening and commenting, and
we appreciate
this is why we do what we do.
That's right.
That's true. And that's the whole point, is really to become that beacon of light and hope. And wherever that ministry finds you, it can be in a place that is hopeful. It can be in a place that is super dark. Doesn't matter. And I know from my first book, Pinpoints of Light, Escaping the Abyss of Abuse, the pinpoints that are there that guide us through, that is enough to take us to the next place.
Right.
It doesn't mean I can read by that little tiny pinpoint or like the stars, but you can sure guide and navigate through. And if you think about it as those words of poetry, or like those pinpoints, or like those tiny little stars, or guidance to guide an entire ship to safety, to a new island, to a new place.
Right.
It's there. They are the light of those breadcrumbs. And then putting that upon yourself and writing with that hope and intention to find meaning, even if you're writing out the challenging parts of your life, there is time and reflection. So I know that the book publishing was a little bit interrupted by COVID, but within that interruption, there's been 4 years. And the panic of that is settling. Yes. More learning of that event is coming forward. And so the experience of everyone's life within that part, now could probably be a great time to reflect back, not just focused, on that event, but with time, we usually have more wisdom.
Right.
I know I gained a lot more gray hairs and wrinkles, but
doesn't matter. Gray hair.
Right? It happens. So as our time is kind of drawing to a close tonight, where can we find this book?
You can find it on Amazon.com. Again, this is what it looks like. I'm going to kind of zoom it in there. I'm going to try to. It's hard, I know, without the. And if you can look it up under Elizabeth Billingsley or Linda O'Dell, and it should pull it up.
It does.
It's both in paperback and Kindle. And I am actively working on trying to get a voice actor who will read it for us, so we can put it on Audible.
And I just wanted to also say too, this book is in a larger format than our other books. And we liked how it came out because of what we're talking about, because in there's margins where, like, if something speaks to you, you can just jot a note down. If one of our words or our poems remind you of something in your life, you can say, hey, this is what I went through during this time, and you can put your insights in it. And there's plenty of places to write your notes and make, or jot down your inspiration, and it even says on the book in the back about, our desire is that we want our words to inspire people, bring them hope, and help them find their own creative voice, whether it's writing or it could be, hobbies, it could be work, it could be whatever it is. But find your creativity and shine, just let you, just find your pinpoints of light in your own life, and just shine and use it to bless others and help them. That's what it's all about.
Yes, shine your light. We all have light to shine.
Right.
And so shine your light and don't let anybody dim it.
That's right.
Beautiful. Well, Linda, you are definitely a pinpoint of light to many in the incarceration system, and helping them to know that they have value, they have worth. They are the women that are women first, who've
Right.
made challenging choices that have placed them in an area for an amount of time.
Mhm.
And through that, learning can still happen. Might not be ideal,
Mhm.
but if they take that opportunity to learn and to change when they leave, life can really start again. And that's a blessing. So,
It is.
and Elizabeth, with your help within public nursing and caring, we all need a little more of that care, whether it's physical or spiritual or emotional. And so I'm really grateful for you, wonderful people that have that light of Christ within you shining forth, and to be that beacon of light to someone else who is in need. Just as any other lighthouse is out there in the world, as far away as you are, it is that pinpoint. And as you follow the direction and become closer, it becomes that beam and that ray.
Right.
And you find your safety. And so thank you, Linda, for providing that, and for Elizabeth
Thank
for providing
you.
that. Again, their book is called Pain, Purpose, and Healing Through the Eyes of Poetry. Thank you so much for being a part of the Beacon of Light podcast tonight. And thank you, Abby, and our Facebook user, and anyone else who popped in here live. We are so grateful for it. Please share this content. We want others to know that no matter the darkness that is there, which we see hour by hour by the update in the news, please go and be that light and hope today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Goodbye.
Bye.